is that the House, correct me if I'm wrong here, the House has changed the rules in the pandemic here, so they're letting people essentially almost vote remotely or have somebody vote for you, right? Did you ever, when this happened, have anybody vote on your behalf who voted improperly, did not vote as you would have had them done?
Absolutely not. As a matter of fact, there are so many guardrails put in to make sure that the vote that I brought was the vote for Iowans for 3rd District. So to say anything otherwise is a complete lie. I have always voted in the best interests of Iowans. My vote has always been my vote. It will continue to be my vote, and it will continue to be the words of the people that I represent, your voices that I'm bringing to Washington to make sure your voice is heard. And just like every other organization in this country that has had to adapt to a pandemic and is working virtually, that's what the House has done. And so my vote is my vote, and it can be no one else's. That's the rule, and I've been delivering on that.
So why is it fair to criticize her for that?
Well, for the first time in the history of our country, we've had many, many instances where there's been great duress. Anthrax attacks, ricin attacks, terrorist attacks, Civil War, World War I, World War II. Nancy Pelosi wanted to consolidate more power. And for the first time in the history of this country, she put forth a vote that said other members of Congress can vote in proxy for other members of Congress. It's important to show up to work. In Iowa, the grocery store workers, the folks at the meatpacking plants, the folks at the hospitals, in our schools, they don't have a choice. They have to go to work. They can't just give it to somebody else to do their job. In Iowa, if you don't show up to work, you don't last too long, but those are just the proxy votes. Those are many, many other votes that she's missed as well. And I never missed a vote in 4 years. And Senator Grassley, Senator Ernst, Abby Finkenauer, Dave Loebsack showed up to work, Steve King. They managed to make it to Washington, D.C. to vote. She didn't show up.
The records show that he hasn't missed any votes. I think if the percent was right, it was 1.8% of the votes, which is below the average of any member of Congress here. Do you want to explain? I think it was spring of 19 where you missed some votes. Do you want to explain why?
Sure, absolutely, because my plane was delayed. And right now, you can't even get a direct flight to Washington. So as a matter of fact, I got in a few minutes after that because of all of the delayed flights that happened because of the weather. So I think that that's something that folks can understand. I doubt there's anybody here in Iowa that wasn't a little bit late to work because of the weather sometimes, and that just so happens when you come from a Midwest state.
All right, can we talk about the virus here? Obviously,